What's going on, everybody? Welcome in the Vikings Now by Chat Sports. I'm your host, Patrick Siepman, and coming up on today's show, we're going to discuss the possibility of the Vikings trading for Anthony Richardson. Now, this would obviously to be just the backup quarterback. I'm not trying to start any controversy right now saying Richardson could potentially be brought in and start over J.J. McCarthy. It's June. I just want to have a fun, show for you guys today. And then also with training camp starting in about a month for the Vikes, we'll discuss some of the top storylines that you guys need to be aware of. But before we start, if you guys are excited about the football season, give me a skull down below in the comment section. I cannot wait. I hate this time of the sports calendar. Really all we got is baseball right now, and I cannot wait to have football back in our lives. So if you guys are fired up for the season, this is this is probably the most excited I've been for a season in a very long time. Just hit me with a skull down below in the comment section, and you know what? Whoever comments skull the most, we'll give you guys a shout out on a future video. All right, so could the Vikes be trading for Anthony Richardson? Probably not. But I do think it's a fun conversation to have because there is a lot of connections to the Vikings, specifically Kevin O'Connell and Anthony Richardson. We knew the Vikes were very high on him when he was coming out of Florida. And also, if you guys remember last year after the Sunday night game against the Indianapolis Colts, KOC and Richardson, they went viral for this clip after the game when KOC was dapping him up saying like, hey, you're a tremendous quarterback, stick with the process. This was actually the game Richardson was benched for Joe Flacco, so he was going through it, and KOC was kind of consoling him, telling him like, hey, stick with the process here. You end up working out. So I think KOC would love to get his hands on Anthony Richardson, just be another member of the KOC QB rehab school. But what you may be saying, well, why would the Colts want to let him go? Clearly they, drafted him 4th overall. They're very high on him. Well, the recent reports we're getting from The Athletic about the quarterback competition in Indianapolis, they said Daniel Jones is QB1 for now. The Colts signed the ex-Giants/Vikings quarterback in free agency to challenge Anthony Richardson for the QB1 title in Indy, and Jones has already taken a significant lead. And, I would probably put every cent in my bank account on the Colts starting Daniel Jones week 1. I think Shane Steichen, there's a little pressure for him to win some games this upcoming season. I bet you he thinks Daniel Jones gives them the best chance to do so. So could that mean Anthony Richardson is on the block? Again, I feel like it's unlikely, but also anything is possible in the NFL world. Now, if you guys do remember, the Vikings were very high on Richardson when he was coming out of Florida. Actually, Brett Coleman had this report saying, I don't think people realize how hard the Vikings tried to trade up for Richardson last year. Like, the haul they put on the table was massive. They're going to give away the entire farm, all of it. They were going to give everything. But it takes two to tango. Their trade partner thought they were going to be too good, and so they went elsewhere. So clearly the Vikings were all in on Anthony Richardson when he was coming out. It does kind of make sense because Richardson would be a perfect quarterback for the KOC QB rehab school where he's a hyper athlete. He's got a massive, massive ceiling. Now, he also has an extremely low floor as well, and he struggles just to hit the layups. I mean, he can't hit a 5-yard out consistently. He's probably just a more polarizing and worse quarterback, compared to like a Justin Fields, where it's like you have these hyper athletes, but Richardson, I'm sure Kevin O'Connell would love to get his hands on him, try to develop him, and there's no doubt the upside is there with Richardson. Again, this is just a backup quarterback play. Like the Vikings, clearly that's the most important position in all of sports, and it would be interesting to see if KOC can unlock something out of him. And even if he doesn't play a single snap this season, maybe if JJ has to go down for a week or two, Richardson steps in, you would have a totally different look of the offense, I would imagine. Probably similar to the Vikings offense when they had Josh Dobbs, but more positive here. Preseason would be electric. Like, could you imagine Richardson out there in the purple and gold, rocking with the number 2s, the number 3s at preseason? I think it would be a lot of fun. Again, this has a less than 1% chance to happen. But with the Vikings, they've been aggressive with that quarterback position in the past. Maybe they view Richardson as just another guy they could bring in, rehab his career, get the most out of him, and then maybe he goes somewhere else and you get like a future comp pick similar to, the Daniel Jones situation. But let's just say all things were equal. All three of these guys were on the Minnesota Vikings. Pick a quarterback for me. Give me a BR for Brett Rippon. Give me an SH for Sam Howell. Or give me an AR for Anthony Richardson. You guys let me know who you want to be the backup quarterback for your Minnesota Vikings. All right, we'll talk about some training camp storylines around your Vikes here in a second. But I got to tell you guys about a new product here at Vikings Now, and that is Factor Form. Now, start your day right with Daily Greens by Factor Form at factor75.com/Vikings chat to get 40% off plus free shipping on your first order. Now, I have tried green supplements in the past, and I swore I was never going to try them again until I tried Factor Form's Daily Greens, and it has completely changed how I view drinking my green supplements in the morning. But most of us dread drinking greens. But Factor Form changed the game. You'll actually crave your greens as a sister brand to Factor Meals. Factor Form was designed to work hand in hand with your meals, making better nutrition effortless. Daily Greens is a greens powder by Factor Form you'll look forward to drinking. Just one scoop delivers 100% of your daily nutrients, filling nutrient gaps, supporting whole body health, and helping you feel your best. With a refreshing, citrusy, clean, and smooth taste that's actually enjoyable to drink, mix a single serve pack in water and you're good to go. So I got that link for you guys in the comments and description of today's show. But start your day right with Daily Greens by Factor Form at factor75.com/Vikings chat to get 40% off plus free shipping on your first order. That's factor75.com/Vikings chat for 40% off plus free shipping. Factor75.com/Vikings chat. All right, let's talk about it. Training camp almost here. Couldn't be more excited. It's going to be a lot of fun, and there's a lot of storylines that us Vikings fans need to follow. And I think the biggest storyline heading to camp, I was going to put the battle for wide receiver 3 in here, but I think Jalen Nailor's got that locked up, at least for the first couple of games of the season. Now, could a guy like Felton potentially overtake him? Maybe, but I do think as the season begins, Jalen Nailor will be locked into that wide receiver 3 spot. But in terms of wide receivers battling to make the roster here, I think you got 3 guys battling it out for the last 2 spots, because I think Jefferson, Addison, Nailor, and Felton, they're all locks to make the team. And then you got Rondell Moore, Tim Jones, Silas Bolden. Those 3 are probably going to be duking it out for the last 2 spots. Obviously, the Vikes view, Tim Jones as a special teams ace, but I also think they view Silas Bolden as a potential game changer on the special team side of things. Like, he had that massive punt return against Arizona State in the quarterfinal this past season for Texas. So, would they go in the direction of him, or maybe they go Rondell Moore? Rondell Moore hasn't practiced yet with the Vikings, but it could be a thing where if Rondell gets out there, they're like, all right, that's our guy. He'll be the wide receiver, 5 for this team. That'll be like Tim Jones, Silas Bolden. Those guys duke it out for that last spot. But that's definitely the top storyline I'm watching. And then also the cornerback 3 and 4 battle. Now, I think it is pretty locked in that Isaiah Rodgers will be that next starting corner opposite of Byron Murphy. He'll be the outside guy. Byron Murphy can obviously hop in the slot, play some nickel, but obviously when he's tasked to play outside corner, he's pretty damn good at that as well. But this battle, mainly between Mekhi Blackman, Dwight McGlothern, and Jeff Okudah for that third quarterback spot, I would assume Blackman ends up winning this, but we also saw a guy like Zamia Vaughn. He was playing some great football at minicamp and during OTA so far, the 6'3" UDFA from Utah. Brian Flores, really high on him. So I think you got 4 guys duking it out for the last 2 starting roles on this defense, but both sides of the ball on the outside, it's going to be an interesting battle. And then also something that I just can't wait to get an update on is Christian Darrisaw and Willie Fries. Kevin O'Connell did mention that Will Fries should be good to go for training camp, so we should see him out there. Darrisaw, a different story. We're just hoping that he'll be ready for week 1. But even if the Vikings, even if they aren't able to have Darrisaw and Fries with their starting offensive line, they could just plug in Justin School at left tackle. You can plug in Blake Brandell at right guard, and you still have a serviceable offensive line. Now, with the group you're seeing up on screen right now, I think that is top 5 potential in the league when they're all fully healthy, and hopefully they are able to, be just that. But even if you have to miss Darrisaw for a game, even if you have to miss, Will Fries for a game, the offensive line is still solid. So I love the Vikings, we're clearly trying to make that a point of emphasis this offseason, but just getting updates on both those guys is something I'm looking for. And then, obviously the quarterback, J.J. McCarthy, and just his progression. And, he looked pretty damn good, had some good days, had some bad days at OTAs. That one windy day at practice where apparently just interceptions were flying left and right from all of the quarterbacks for the Vikes. But just seeing him continuously progress throughout this whole offseason cycle. He checked the box every single way so far. Now training camp's next up, then the preseason, then the regular season, then the playoffs, then the Super Bowl, hopefully for McCarthy. But also the starting safety rotation. Now, obviously the Vikings ran that bandit defense 97% of the time last season when they had 3 safeties on the field. So, obviously Josh Metellus, Harrison Smith, they're going to be playing a whole lot. And then I'm assuming Theo Jackson will be that third safety there. But, I'm just curious if the Vikes are still going to plan to play Harry as much as they did this past season. So could that mean a guy like Jay Ward, fourth round pick out of LSU a couple years ago, could he step up in that free safety spot? Or maybe they go more just two safety sets and they have like an Eric Wilson step in at the linebacker spot. Maybe Kobe King, sixth round pick. Maybe he gets a lot more run than we're thinking. But still, it's just going to be interesting to see how Flores kind of plays this out. And I would just still be shocked if Harry is playing as much as he did this past season. But who knows? Every single year when we say, oh, this has to be Harrison Smith's last year, he ends up having a good year just like he did this past season. So maybe that trend continues. But these are my 5 storylines heading into training camp. And if you guys made it to the end of today's show, hit me with a skull down below in the comments section. Also, hit me up on Twitter at PatSeeps is the Twitter handle. And we'll see you guys next time. As always, Skull Vikes.